Welcome, everyone. It's Career Happy Hour. I'm Andrew Beach. I'm an executive coach and teacher of self-education. I help professionals like you communicate your value to find great opportunities faster, whether you're working or not. I do that through a pragmatic process of branding, planning, and effective networking. And this is Happy Hour. Career Happy Hour happens every Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time here on Restream. Now, I know I say Restream, but just broadcasting on LinkedIn. I'm broadcasting on Twitter, Facebook, and also YouTube. So if you want to see any of the past episodes of Career Happy Hour, I think they go back a couple of years. You could probably learn something just by binge watching, if you want to, all the prior sessions of Career Happy Hour. That said, if you're new to this community, it's okay. Welcome. This is a safe place for you to ask questions and perhaps even get some live coaching. If you want live coaching, you can access that. Let's see here. I'll copy the link and put it in the join me now for live coaching. Hands-on live coaching. If you could use that, let me get this into the comments box here really quickly. And then I'll also put it on LinkedIn because LinkedIn chat doesn't work two-way on Restream for whatever reason. So I will place that same link into the comments box on LinkedIn. If you want to join me live, you'll come into the green room. That's fine. You don't have to put your name in there. You can put private questions in there as well. If you don't want your questions to be live on LinkedIn or any of these other channels, that's fine. Come into the back end and don't put your name in there. Just say anonymous. If you would answer this question, I'd appreciate that. So good. Happy Friday, Tracy. Same to you. It's good to see you joining here today by YouTube. Excellent. Good to have you. Thank you for that. Again, if you have any questions at all about your career, whether you're working or not, if you're looking to develop yourself, or what are the key skills in the workforce, how to interview for positions, how to even get to an interview. I mean, that's what we're talking about here today. This is a community where we support each other, not just with advice and information, but also we encourage you to put your LinkedIn profile in the comments, the chat. Regardless of which platform you're on, we recognize that the number one platform for business professionals is LinkedIn. And we would encourage you to put your LinkedIn profile address into the comments, the chat, however you want to do that. And what you're signaling in doing so is that you're open to people reaching out to you and having network conversations for mutual benefit. Now, I say that last part, mutual benefit, to make it clear that I'm not anticipating that people are going to reach out to folks in my streams to sell them things, okay? And if that does happen to you, I certainly want to hear about it and who it's from, so that we can make sure that there's some rules of engagement here in our live streams, that people can abide by some of these constructs. So that's the other part. Now, the other side of this is I do this pro bono. I do this to give back to my community, to the people who have helped me. And this session every Friday, 3 o'clock Pacific time, is free. It's not something I expect to get things out of. What I would encourage you to do is to get more people involved in our little community here, is to share this broadcast. If you get some kind of benefit from today's session, which we're talking about, what does the holiday job search look like, and how do you stay engaged during the holidays in a process to improve yourself and your standing, whether that's finding a new job or getting a promotion, whatever that looks like. I have some thoughts, some ideas, and you can certainly add your 2 cents in the comments, but sharing this out will get us a broader audience, get more people involved, and allow you to have more networking conversations. Good. And again, there is a link in the description, and I've also put it in the comments, that you can join live if you want to be part of the Restream. And we can have up to, evidently, 10 people in here at a time, I think that said. Yeah, I can invite up to 10 guests. So if more than one of you want to come in, then that would be awesome. So let's talk here for a second about this concept. We've been talking the last several weeks on how to prep for 2022, how to stay engaged. there's X weeks left in the year. We have Thanksgiving coming next week. For those of our friends outside the U.S., that would mean something similar to any holidays that you have in the fall to celebrate harvest or what have you. I think that's what Thanksgiving is for, anyways. But it's an opportunity for us to reflect on the year and make some adjustments, maybe even reach out to individuals in our network to make reconnections. And so I just had some thoughts here because I was thinking through this myself. I recognize the holidays are coming. This can be a challenging and somewhat, how would you say it, emotional season for many of us, that we have an opportunity to interact with our family, with our friends. And sometimes that isn't always rosy. And so how can I go into this holiday season not only being an active participant in family activities, but also an active participant in being deliberate and consistent and engaged in my professional presentation without appearing professional, if that makes sense. Well, I mean, overly rehearsed. Let's just put it that way. So the question that I often get, and I'm even ruminating on it right now as we get ready to go into Thanksgiving, is that I know I'm going to run into people that are going to say, how's life or how's work? How's life or how's work? And so the question is, how are you going to respond to that question? Are you going to respond, oh, life's great, work is awesome? How's work for you, right? So, I mean, we need to have something more compelling, and whether that's an elevator pitch or a branding statement or a 30-second commercial, maybe injecting some of that content, especially if you have it, into the conversation would be great. And so part of that is being not only honest with yourself and with others, but also talking about what is it you're looking to accomplish in your life, in your career. And that's a big philosophical question. So take some time, though, and start thinking about, how are you going to respond to that question? For me, it's grateful for opportunity. How's life? I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here and to do the work that I do. I'm grateful for that. And that may seem trite and somewhat knee-jerk, but I can bookend that kind of approach with something more aspirational. And I'm looking forward to, I like and instead of but, right? I'm grateful for the opportunities I've had, and I'm looking to expand, fill in the blank, right? Expand my expertise in talent management or human resource development or whatever. So for me, it would be optimizing a skill, improving a skill, gaining access to different content or people. And it's a way for all of us to stay engaged, not just in a process, but in a development of ourselves. So think of it from that perspective. So that's the first thing. Have a response, be prepared with something aspirational and authentic for how's life and how's work. That's, by the way, positive. And as much as I am grateful and appreciate what I'm doing now, there's always something can be better. And let's talk about the be better, not the what's wrong or the negative side of things, because we don't certainly want to ruin our holidays either, and that's for sure. And if you haven't taken the time, energy, and effort to create an elevator pitch or a branding statement or a 30-second commercial, that's what I love to do. I love to help people uncover themselves in a professional sense and be able to articulate their value very succinctly with the various audiences. So it's something I feel I was kind of designed to do, or at least geared in the way I was bent, as they say. Good. I love to talk about something new I am learning. Excellent. That's part of it. Now, part of that is also saying, I'm not just the only one in the conversation, right? If there's somebody there and they're at a holiday event and, it's that uncomfortable family member that you just always get stuck talking to for a period of time until it's time to eat or whatever, then it's having an opportunity to tell them, yeah, you're welcome, Tracy. I appreciate that. So the idea here is, how do I bridge that kind of expression to something tangible and memorable for me, so that when that person leaves that holiday event, they're thinking of me when they see that thing. And so it's important to kind of put in their mind, And I'm really looking to meet these kind of people at this kind of company. So if you're meeting somebody and you know they have connections, say I know this person, they work at Microsoft, or they know people at Microsoft, and Microsoft happens to be one of my target companies, then I'm going to reach out to them and say, hey, this is what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my opportunities to add value to people in transition. And I'm looking to expand my expertise in talent management, specifically at organizations like Microsoft. So I don't know if you know anybody at Microsoft. If you do, great. If not, that's okay too. I'm just looking to make connections there. Would it be okay if I reached out to you after the holidays, and maybe we could schedule some time to talk in more detail about that, so we can just enjoy the holidays and be engaged in the holidays without circumstance? But that's what you're doing, is you're setting the stage for a follow-up conversation at the holiday event. And I find that kind of process really kind of a lot of work. I mean, to be honest, it's, this soft approach requires many steps. And often we think I'm a pragmatic person, and the best way to a destination is a straight line. And it's been taking a lot of effort on my side to recognize that networking and relationships are more like an evolution. And it's taking iterations and repetitions and multiple meetings to get to a place that's worth going for both of us, not just me, but for both of us. Okay. So that's the second thing. So the first thing is, hey, have your answer for the how's work, how's life kind of question that's coming. And the second thing is, sometimes it's better to prep for that holiday event prior to, by connecting to that person. Hey, one thing that happened to me is I went to a football game this last week. And so I started thinking to myself, who are the people that I could eventually run into at a football game that I used to see when I had season tickets and all these things. And so it dawned on me that there was likely going to be a group of people at this event that I could bump into. And so sometimes if you know there's an event coming and you think there might be somebody there, kind of think through that process and say, who's possibly going to be at this event? So let's say you're going to a play, and it happens to be The Nightmare Before Christmas, or the night before Christmas, or something of that nature. Then you could say to yourself, well, who do I know? Who do I know that might be at this thing? Number one. And number two, who do I think might appreciate the fact that I'm going to this thing? And maybe let them know about it. And it's just a way for me to reach out to them naturally and just give them a heads up. And, whether you're going to this thing or not is okay. I certainly want to connect with you at some point during or after the holidays, whatever's best for you. And so, the other part of that is, maybe, you're going to Thanksgiving dinner, and Thanksgiving dinner, who's going to be there. And it's not uncommon that you might want to reach out to some of those people that are going to be there. Selfishly, of course, you choose the people who you want to reach out to because you think they might have potential to lead you to the right people with the right opportunities. And that's fine. You can pick and choose who to reach out to. But the idea is, there's considerations that need to happen during a holiday event like Thanksgiving. Let's say there's 15 or 20 people coming to your home or somebody's home, and maybe you're going to somebody else's home. What can I bring? And what do you need? And would it be okay if I brought this? And, what do the logistics look like? And so now I'm engaging that person early, when maybe that wasn't my practice before. And they're probably going to appreciate the fact that you're concerned that they're hosting 20 people at their home, and they may not be ready for that. And they may need extra help. They might need extra chairs. They might need a fold-up table, or a tablecloths, or a poinsettia arrangement. So maybe you think about bringing a couple of poinsettias. I think they have, like a 2-pack at Costco for $20 or something. They're big poinsettias. But I'm just thinking through some of these things myself. So maybe you can utilize that on your. And so in that initial pre-holiday conversation, you're going to see them at the holiday, and certainly it's great. It's going to be nice to meet you. I'd love to get with you after the holidays. Would that be okay? Just so I'm setting up the after holiday conversation before the holiday and at the holiday. So now I get 2 iterations of saying, hey, I would just love to reconnect with you after the holidays, maybe after the new year, that sort of thing. And start setting up that reconnection process now, because once people get to the new year and they get re-engaged in work, they may not be available. And so having them captive audience, accessible, available in order to schedule those meetings now, or maybe soon after the holidays is super, super helpful. Which reminds me, and this kind of goes to the third thing, and I don't know how much of this is actually happening anymore, but in the times that I was selling real estate, we always had a dip in sales during the holidays. I don't know if that's going to happen this year, or even if that's a thing anymore with the pandemic, in pandemic times. But we always talked about the 10 or 15 reasons why to sell during the holidays. Number one, people's homes are decorated. Number two, the people looking to buy during the holidays are motivated. Number three, corporate relocations, the highest month for corporate relocations are January. When do you think they're looking at homes? They're looking at homes in December, right? So we had to really convince people to put their homes on the market during the holidays. And because of those things, corporate relocations and whatnot is the part, I'd likely be focusing on. And that is, hey, you know what? And we talked about this earlier, that we should be doing our planning for 2022 in our career now versus later. And what that means is, if I know that an organization is on a fiscal year that starts January 1, those people are formulating budgets now. They're closing out the fiscal year. They're kind of budgeting for 2022. They're making headcount decisions. They're doing reorganizations, reallocations of staff. And I need to start planting seeds now. So if those companies are planning now, I need to plant seeds now. And this is a great opportunity. Most people, generally speaking, are accessible, available. It's the holidays. They're in a good mood for the most part. It's not true of everyone. Not everybody has a positive association with this thing called the holidays. So this might be an opportunity for you to confirm whether or not that's the case. And so think about it from that perspective. It's this new fiscal year, planning now, plant seeds now, and start connecting with and deciding for yourself who are the people you'd love to connect with. Who are the companies you'd love to start planting seeds? And maybe those seeds that you plant today or during the holidays this year don't bear fruit till June or July. It happens. That's why I think farmers plant what's called winter wheat. Winter wheat is grown during the winter and harvested in the spring. So that you wouldn't think anything would grow in the winter, but winter wheat grows in the winter. So there's something to think about there. So that's the third thing. Think about planting seeds now. Fourth, and I don't know why I didn't put this earlier, but I didn't want it to be a trite connection to Thanksgiving specifically. But it's looking back at your calendar for 2021 and maybe even farther back if you haven't done this already, is who do you want to thank in your network? And you may not do that this week or even next week because of the connection to Thanksgiving. But just be real authentic in identifying someone that you would like to say, you know what, I appreciate you. Thank you for X. And be very specific on the thank you that you're giving somebody. Hey, thank you for doing these things every Friday, Andrew. That's great. I would like to hear, hey, this thing that you do on Friday, here's what I learned. Here's what I took away. Here's what I did. And here's the results I got. Just wanted to let you know these things are really valuable to me. And now I'm going a step deeper and a step farther in how that contribution made a difference in my life. So if you're going to go the extra mile. Be very clear on if you're thanking somebody, it's not just a surface level thank you, although those certainly are better than no thank yous at all. I would certainly think about the contributions that people made to your success. I would think about the people who were influential in your development or your success in some capacity. I would think about maybe even Tracy said it earlier, something you learned. Maybe there was something you learned from someone or something. Maybe just being grateful for the resource that give you that learning and finding some way to document that or share that, authentically with an audience is certainly something I would consider doing. And maybe there's something this last year you were glad you had the chance to do. a once in a lifetime thing, or whatever. Go back through your calendar. That's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to go back, look through my calendar, see what sort of events I had scheduled there, who was influential in my success, something that I learned, something that I contributed or someone contributed to me, and find a way to be grateful for those opportunities. That's the fourth thing. And I'm sure there's more. I came up with 5, and it was a quick thing. I didn't invest a lot of time and energy in prep today for this one. I just tend to share things that are on my mind, and then I lean on you, by the way, to provide questions in the comment section or the chat box or what have you, regardless of the platform you're on, so that I can answer these things for you. So if you have an opportunity, drop a question in there. If there's something burning on your mind about your career, about what's happening in the world, or that sort of thing, then certainly I'm happy to answer those questions. So what's the fifth thing? Well, the fifth thing is really being clear about the type of people you wish you could spend more time with. What are the types of, now I'm not talking by name, not at all. I think it's important that you identify the characteristics of the people you want to spend more time with. Now, that may start with a person, but I wouldn't mention that person by name. I would talk about the attributes of that person. So there's plenty of people that are much better at planning and analysis than me, much better at specifically financial analysis. And I would just like to be spending more time with people who have better capability of planning and executing than I do. And what does that look like? And what sort of characteristics am I really focused on there? And that to me is a characteristic. Now, the reason I would do that is if I meet somebody or find somebody that fits that, I just want to make a statement to myself. I want to invest more time in that person and that relationship, because that's something I want to develop and going forward. Okay. So don't do it by name, place, profession, whatever. The characteristics of the people you would love to spend more time with, because now I have an idea of why I'm networking and the type of people I like to meet. And once I meet those people, I can put them on a short list, because I think the challenge we all have is that, hey, I don't have enough hours in the day to network with all the people that want to meet with me. So who am I going to choose to invest my time, energy, and effort in, recognizing that not everybody that I meet is going to be in that category, nor are they going to be people that, you got the people that you're going to be mentoring and helping along as well. That's fine. I'm suggesting that you mentor people, yes, and then you also be a mentor and to a peer perhaps, and then have yourself a mentor. And that would be the type of people I'd like you to describe, and describe them by characteristic. What kind of person do you want being a peer mentor, for example? Somebody that's in the same position as you are. I would like to have somebody engaged and willing to meet regularly and able to share, even though they feel like that I'm maybe a competitor. Okay. I want somebody like that. So good. Tracy, excellent question. Let's see what she says here. Andrew, should people keep applying for roles during the holiday season? That's up to you. I think, Tracy, you probably know my opinion on blind applications. I think that's a minimum standard. It is not a system or a process that we have documented generates consistent results for everyone. However, in today's market, there are more people, more positions than people to fill them. That means the market is working in your favor. And that's okay. That means, yes, you could, if you choose to do so, apply to other roles. I would not stop there. It's not the only activity you participate in. And if it's a role you're really interested in, go the extra mile. Find a person, knock on a door, do a LinkedIn connect request to as many people as you can at that organization or in that domain that you can find, and ask them about their experience in the company and how they're doing things. Not that you apply to a job. I mean, that's tactical and self-serving. Not that I'm suggesting everybody isn't self-serving. They are. I'm just suggesting that an initial outreach to someone that you may not know as well as others, or maybe you're meeting for the first time, that's not what you want your foundational relationship to be based on, is your need for employment. So it has to be something around your topic of interest or your area of expertise or a commonality with that individual, so you can talk about that one thing. And by that one thing, I mean that one thing is that if I'm saying that that's what I want to talk about, and now I introduce a conversation that's outside that scope, like my need for employment and application to this role, and can you help me get hired here? That's a big ask. That's a big ask. Now, if this person offers, that's different, right? If they're offering to support you and, hey, did you look at the jobs postings and anything on our site that you found? Yeah, I mean, there's this one role, I don't expect you to have any insights on it, but, what can you tell me about the organization and what they're doing in the space, right? You make it seem like it's not that big a deal. Okay. So yes, if you want to apply to roles, I'm not going to say don't do it. I'm just suggesting that don't just do that. Do more. Here's the rest of the question. Sorry about that. Or should we spend our time investing in learning about resume updates, certifications, etc.? You should spend your time investing in people, whether through volunteering, connecting with new people, reconnecting with others, whatever that looks like. I think often we think about the things that we should do on our own in a vacuum, and we don't think that people have value, is what we're communicating. And so I wrestle with this too, right? I want to work on my resume or my LinkedIn profile or these other things. I want to do that too. However, I recognize that often the resume is diminished if I have, let me put it this way, now that it's diminished, the value of the resume becomes less critical to your success in a hiring process if you have a solid relationship. Not that qualifications don't matter, not that everybody isn't going to have an interview, they are, but this is an opportunity to get to the interview when otherwise I may not have had that chance. Okay. Yes. So one way, thank you for that. I would say yes to all your stuff. It's just a matter of when and how, and what should you focus on first. And so it's not uncommon that you want to do all of these things. Yes. However, you may be substituting something that's not high value activity for something low value. So to me, the highest and best use of your time is a job interview. There's nothing more important in a hiring process of any kind than an interview. And so what's the best way to prep for an interview? Well, it's to do networking. Isn't networking also an interview, sometimes called informational interviews? Yeah. So use that as an opportunity to practice your interview skills. Will you learn something in that network conversation to incorporate in your resume? If you're looking at opportunities in that space or with that company that you met somebody through, then yes, incorporate that information that you learned firsthand, not from a job posting or what you think, but from somebody inside the company. Good. Thank you, Oswat. Thank you. Welcome. Good to see you. Let's see, it says 10 years in the same role, starting to retrain myself in certain areas, had some interviews in the last few years with other companies, but cannot get through. What do you mean cannot get through? Meaning you're not securing an offer? So here's the thing. If you've been in a domain for a long time, often there's prejudice, if you call it that. It could also be bias. It might be unconscious bias, but if I was in the same role for 10 years, my suspicion would be, did you do the exact same thing for 10 years? Right? It may not be true that you did the exact same thing for 10 years. That role may have evolved. And therefore, if you even said, that this was a level 1 versus a level 2 or what have you, then that's fine. But the idea here is the reason you're not being selected isn't known to you, nor may it ever be. And I know that's a hard thing to swallow, because often the person who gets selected may not even be as qualified as you are to do that job. They happen to know somebody, or either they know somebody and or they performed really, really well at the interview. So, I mean, I know people who know people really well. They go to the interview overconfident. They don't prepare it. They fall on their face. And it doesn't look good on the person who referred you. Number one. And number two, if you don't prepare for the interview, even if you get to the interview table in that context, then that's on you. And I can't help that. But the idea here is you look at each of these scenarios, and my suspicion is the process looks like this. I apply for a job. I go through a phone screen. I get a second, third round interview. They don't select me. Why? They don't tell me, nor will they ever, because they are afraid, many companies are this way, that anything they say may be used against them in a court of law and that they might be sued. So it's not likely that any company is going to give you the truth about why they selected you. Just recognize they didn't reject you. They accepted somebody else. Let me say that again. They didn't turn you down. They accepted somebody else. And you should feel good if you made it to the finals, that you are a handful of probably hundreds of candidates. And I would be grateful for that opportunity. So the way that I follow up with each of those companies, those people, is to stay in touch with them over time. So the good news is every interview is a networking conversation. And you just had a networking conversation with a hiring team that brought you down perhaps to the finals. And that means, hey, what am I going to do after that interview? Am I just going to wash my hands of that company and never contact them again? Not a wise strategy. I would perhaps develop a strategy to keep in touch with them every 3 weeks to start, and then once a month, maybe once a quarter after that. Okay. Because the funny thing is, as good as a hiring process is, it's not perfect. And I have seen people, interestingly enough, get hired. They get through, they don't even make their 90-day probationary period and they're released. And now the company's in a position where they have to go hire that person again, that position again. And if you were number 2 and they made a mistake, guess what? You're now number 1. But if I don't keep in touch and I don't see that position reposted and I end up taking another opportunity, whatever that looks like, then that's on me. I didn't keep in touch with those people. Okay. So I don't know your specific situation. However, if you have some questions about that or need additional support, then seen that a lot of, I mean, I don't have to tell you, Azat, there's plenty of people getting hired that are not qualified. Why? Because they know somebody, they have a relationship, they were referred in, whatever. I mean, they interviewed really well. They talk the talk, but they may not be able to walk the walk. And so these things happen. People who are not qualified get hired all the time. And your job is to not go ouch when you get stung, when they don't accept you, when truthfully they're not declining you or not accepting you, they're accepting somebody else. And your job is to just go get the next one. Go get, and always be that way. Always be that way. Always be looking for the next opportunity, whatever that looks like. That puts you in the driver's seat. It gives you, what would we call that? Purpose. Your purpose is to guide your own career. And if my purpose is to guide my own career, by golly, I'm going to look to the next step, whether I'm out of work or not. If I'm in work and I love my company and I'm doing great and everything's well and swell, then I'm more likely to be complacent and not do anything. And that's exactly when you should, an alarm should go off and you should be saying to yourself, I need to take some steps to improve myself so that when I come to a crossroads where the company has a decision to make on headcount, I'm either the person that stays or I'm prepared, extremely prepared to go to the next opportunity because I kept an active network. So that's something you do control. Good question. Any other questions out there? Go ahead and put them in chat. Happy to answer. So just to recap, the job search over the holidays has many things to consider. The first one is have an answer for how's life, how's work. The second one is connect with people before the event, whatever that event might be, especially if you think about people that may be there, work the logistics and whatever, see them at the event and then prepare a meeting after the event, especially if they're high value folks in your network. Number 3, consider planting seeds now for companies that start a fiscal year Jan 1. Whoever that might be, it's hard to say sometimes who those are, but you can certainly find out. Many companies are just plant seeds now. Sometimes that's just an initial outreach on LinkedIn. Number 4, who do you want to thank in your network? Who do you want to thank? Maybe the last year, last 2 years. What kind of contributions and things did you learn? And maybe give yourself some gratitude for making it through. And number 5, think about the people you want in your network. What does the perfect network look like for you? And my suspicion is there's maybe a dozen people. A dozen works really good because 12 people breaks easily into a quarter, 1 person a week. It's easy to maintain a list of 12. And you can always pull people off. throw people on, adjust what you want your network to look like, and have people that you invest in and have that number be somewhere around 12. Not that you're going to not invest in other people or look for additional people to add to your network and displace one of the 12. You don't have to tell anybody you're doing it that way, but it works for me. Good. So those are the 5 things. Let's see what Melanie says. I'm learning that now. Great points. Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate that affirmation. And I'm grateful that you're here adding and contributing to this session. So not hearing any other questions here, I think I might switch to the news and see if there's any news to be shared. And we can then call it a day. And I hope you have a great weekend. Let's see if there's any news worth sharing here. It looks like Pentagon seeks bids for cloud providers, instant hot water. We're looking for job-related stuff. Pay review. Oh, that's interesting. I think that's so. Here's the thing, and it still kind of irks me a little bit. I'm a little. I guess I should just buck up and accept it. But I believe that LinkedIn and Microsoft likely have strategic partnerships with Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal, because every time they cite one of their articles inside of LinkedIn's news feed, this news that you see on their homepage, it's asking me to sign in and pay something. So I don't know. I'm sure there's a referral fee that goes back to LinkedIn for getting me to sign up for Bloomberg or Wall Street Journal. So in any event, I looked up this article and I thought it was an interesting approach, something that I thought happened anyway. I just don't think organizations are, and this is my perception, I guess, and change it if you think it's not true. And that is, organizations need to be proactive in addressing inflation in their total rewards programs. And so if that's not in there, a COLA clause, whatever, so I think that's something that's fairly common in public service or even union organizations. But this is a great opportunity to, one, get leverage, get leverage with your employer, or even a new job offer, right? If you're going after a new job, know that you can negotiate. If you need support in that way, I'm certainly happy to provide you some objective support on how to negotiate if you're in that position. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn or send me an email. You can find it on my website. But what this is saying is a tight labor market gives employees more leverage. Here's the thing. If you have skills and you're constantly developing your skills, you always have leverage. And you have leverage when a company is affirming you during a hiring process that they like what they see and they're very interested and they're selling you on the company and the role, then you know you have leverage, right? So pay attention during your hiring process at all the things that are happening, and you'll likely see whether or not you have leverage in that conversation. Or you're the compliance candidate, meaning, hey, we had to round out our diverse talent pool in order to follow equal employment opportunity compliance. And thank you very much for your application and your interview, but we're going to select our preferred candidate anyways. That said, wages for many Americans are going up, or many people are going up, especially in the lower income areas. But in the mid to higher incomes, it only says 1 in 5 are expecting a raise of 10% in the coming year. So is 10% anything to scoff at? No, not really. I mean, for some people that may be several $1,000s. I think the idea here is often we don't get these advancements and we feel like we're forced in a lot of ways to leave our organization in order to find something that gets us in the pay range we want to be. And if we feel we have that value and that value is tested in the marketplace by doing interviews and affirmed by getting competing offers, then we know that we have that value in the marketplace, and we can either choose to leave or present that offer to our employer and say, what can we do? I'd love to stay here, or what have, if that's true. It's unfortunate that many organizations are so reactive. It's like they're all excited to give you that 10% or something more, including equity. But they only do that when you threaten to leave or you have an offer on the table and you give them notice. So I don't know. Use your best judgment there. I'm always the type that likes to cross a bridge rather than burn it. So do your best through that process. So, but I wanted to see what Bloomberg had to say. So I did pull up the article. And it says here, inflation gives U.S. workers ammunition in year-end pay reviews. Now, not everybody gets a year-end pay review, and nor does it neatly fit into December, January. But the idea here is with inflation flaring, American white-collar employees have an edge in the year-end salary discussions, though it may prove tough to secure raises that outpace surging prices. That is true. I mean, the idea here is, will you ever have pay that paces with prices? I'm not sure. That's something you need to talk to your organization about. But the insatiable demand for labor in the pandemic recovery, coupled with record quit rates, which is great resignation, and a barely changing supply has fueled wage increases this year, particularly for lower paid jobs in sectors like hospitality and retail. Salaries of office and staff higher income employees haven't kept up with the growth. But the recent spike in consumer prices now gives these workers more ammunition to negotiate higher pay, especially if you're actively interviewing at other companies, not just to hold them over a barrel and try to bluff. So I'm not the type to try to bluff an employer, but I am the type to have an authentic hands open conversation. Otherwise, I'm looking for opportunities to interview and get competing offers and present those as evidence that they're not in the pay range that they need me. The increase in cost of living is feather in the cap for the job seekers. I don't know if that's true. I think if you're only using inflation as a reason for someone to give you a raise, then what happens next time you want a raise and there's no inflation? What if there's deflation? What if prices are going down? Does that mean they should lower your pay? I don't know if that's the case either. So I would be really hesitant to use this as the only negotiating point in negotiating your salary. You want to talk about value added, difference made, extra hours put in, right? You want to talk about working conditions and how you've successfully executed projects. I mean, you want to talk about value add, not the fact that the prices are going up. Let's see. Give me a raise. Most Americans expect a salary bump. Here's by how much. University of Michigan survey shows that 1 in 5 Americans expect a 10%. We already saw that. And what they want, whether it be enough to keep over this running in the faster pace in 30 years remains to be unseen. Yeah. So that's it's hard to know. So you can certainly look at this article if you want, but I don't really, that was the only article that looked really interesting there to me. If you have another one you would like to talk about, that's fine. But that's the only one related to the type of topics we address here on Career Happy Hour. Let's see. Thanks. Catch you next week. Okay. Good. Tracy has a contribution. This is also an opportunity to ask for more benefits like additional vacation, additional perks like professional memberships, bonus. Yeah, everything, just about everything, is open to negotiation. So if you want something or need something and they can't provide you compensation like additional salary or a bonus, then you look at non-cash compensation as an alternative. And so I wouldn't be asking for all of those things. I would only be asking for some of those things that are important to me. And if you get 1 or 2 and you ask for 5, then that's better than asking for 1 or 2 and only getting 1 or none. So it just really depends on your situation, your circumstance, and what you're trying to accomplish, and how you've established that dialogue with your organization. It's certainly something that's going to be a variable for everyone. Good. Thank you for that question, Tracy. Okay. Well, it doesn't look like there's any other questions here. Thank you for coming to Career Happy Hour. I do appreciate it. We're here again every Friday, 3:00 Pacific time. If there's anything you need between now and then, you're certainly welcome to direct message me on LinkedIn or send me an email. Just go to andrewbeach.com. There's plenty of ways to contact me. I am out there, if you know what I mean. So thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Happy Thanksgiving for those who celebrate, and we will see you next Friday for Career Happy Hour. Bye now.